Many people take one look at a blueprint and they wince. But to many Marines deployed to a combat zone, a blueprint is the planning stage of a very important mission that will be carried out multiple times before they get to return home. The power distribution equipment that is necessary to carry out these missions shape the most important aspects of overall success. My name is Montana, and I'm going to be discussing the electrical equipment, the negative aspects of it, and how they are utilized in desert operations. Power distribution equipment comes in all shapes and sizes, but we will be talking about the gear used by the Marines in the utility field during desert operations. There are three different types. There are generators, there are environmental control units, and there are mobile electric power distribution replacements, also known as MEPDSR. The generator families, as I've pictured here, they come in different shapes and sizes. Clearly, in a combat environment, a smaller size generator is going to be the most efficient because it can be transported via helo. Larger size generators have to be transported via convoy, which increases the risk of losing important engineering assets. These generators are characterized 9 times out of 10 by either a tan khaki color paint or a dark green color. They come with control panels, data plates to ensure that all the gear stays serialized and tracked. The internal components are housed within the outside casing itself to ensure that very little dust or outside environment gets inside. And it comes with load studs, which eventually push the electrical current to other pieces of power distribution equipment. These generators range from 5 kW to 100 kW, from low output to high output. All right. The next thing we're going to talk about are the BU-14s. BU-14s are environmental control units, also air conditioning units, and everybody loves their air conditioning. All right. These act as air conditioners, but they also are used to keep mission essential equipment at operating temperatures, i.e. laptops, servers, and radios, which we all know can overheat very quickly. An AC unit has 2 operating ducts. One sucks air in to be sent through the evaporator and condenser coils. The second duct pushes air out to cool your tent. All right. One of the units weighs no less than 500 pounds. So it's less than a generator, but it's more than 2 men can carry it at any one time. So still transporting this to the top of a mountain is extremely difficult. The most important key in all of it is the MEPDSR. MEPDSR stands for Mobile Electrical Power Distribution Replacement. There are a series of panels that were created to enable military members to set up electrical grids without the use of breaker boxes. Some of this gear has breakers on them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to establish an entire electrical box and run the wires everywhere. Panels, for the most part, are waterproof, and they come equipped with GFCI outlets on them, much like what you would find inside of your regular common household bathroom. Alright, you can reset and test those. They also shut down at the slightest bit of condensation inside. Alright, so they basically regulate themselves. They're very easy as far as maintenance is concerned. While the gear performs its necessary functions, the one thing to take into consideration is that it remains susceptible to high temperatures, which we all know is a frequent occurrence in the Middle East. Temperatures in combat zones are outside the effective operating limits for this gear, and this is stated in the technical manuals. The operations technical manual for the generators, it makes the operators and the mechanics wary of the fact that 120 degrees Fahrenheit under unusual conditions is what makes the generator shut down. All right. The maintenance and operations manual for the BU-14 states that 95 degrees Fahrenheit is the highest limit of effective operation for these AC units. So at that temperature, it means that your air is going to go from extremely cold to a little bit to lukewarm to hot, and then it just renders it completely ineffective. Large amounts of complaints start to roll in at that point in time. So what I used to tell Marines is that just because your AC is not putting out air as cold as you want it to be, that's not an emergency. The MEPDSR is almost perfect in its ability to regulate heat and effectively push and distribute power. The only time a problem would present itself is if the unit is damaged or cracked in some way and allows the environment to get into the housing. All right. In an emergency situation, that it would involve overheating, especially if the system cannot be shut down, because a lot of times these electrical grids can't go down. Computers and servers are dependent upon them, so you have to keep them running at all times. I know I myself have sat on the ground with cans of compressed air, spraying them constantly on these pieces of gear to keep them cooled down until they can regulate themselves. While there are kinks in the way the gear operates, it's most definitely essential in mission accomplishment. When Marines are deployed to Afghanistan to replace my unit, it was my responsibility to train them so that we could maintain the current levels of operation. The one thing that I stressed to them was the fact that unless your radios and your laptops and your communications equipment can run for 7 to 8 months on batteries alone, then you're going to need this gear. For a radio battalion or an intelligence battalion, superior firepower is not our mission. The laptops and the radios are what make us a necessity on the battlefield, and the power distribution equipment is what brings it to life. It's an interdependent system. Seasoned mechanics and experienced operators travel around the provinces in combat zones, fixing emergency situations just like the ones I've described to you, to ensure all of the equipment stays functioning on a regular basis. Utility Marines that operate in the manner that I did while overseas fight a battle of their own. Of 14 different teams with my battalion positioned in 14 different locations around Afghanistan, I saw 12 of those sites, and I'm a female. Every piece of equipment is serialized and accounted for, so if something happens to a particular piece of gear, it's got to be documented and put into a maintenance cycle regardless of where it's located. And even the most hostile sites require some form of a power grid. With the information laid out, the essential use of this type of equipment should be apparent. In the military, each unit plays its own part, and every man or woman within that unit serves a purpose. I think that's one of the things that makes the military so unique. The functions and effectiveness of power distribution equipment is not something that the military could succeed without. It has built camps to house thousands overseas, and it continues to support 5-man teams on the tops of mountains in Afghanistan. The types of electrical equipment, what renders it ineffective, and the importance of the maintenance and its aspects of mission accomplishment make it a high priority in readiness numbers. The information also makes you reconsider exactly what POGs do and why they even exist in the first place.